Okay, good afternoon, students. Am I audible? Okay, good. So let's start today's session. That means let me continue the yesterday's session. So in yesterday's session, if I'm not wrong, I have stopped at this particular slide. So statistical TDM. So let me finish this topic. After completing this topic, I'm going to show you some animations on these multiplexing techniques, and we are going to discuss about different types of problems in these multiplexing techniques with more clarity. Okay, so statistical TDM, as I explained in the last class, yesterday's class, uh, it is designed to overcome the drawbacks of synchronous TDM. As you can see on this diagram, the top diagram, synchronous TDM. In synchronous TDM, every frame contains n number of slots, where n stands for number of users that are sharing the medium. Okay, so here if you look at this diagram, here 5 people are sharing the diagram. So obviously your frame contains 5 slots. So this is slot for A. Let me just, yeah. So this is slot of A, this is slot of B, this is slot of C, this is D, this is E. So if there is no data, obviously you are not going to send anything with respect to that particular user. Okay, so actually here these first data will go in first frame. Okay, so this is the first frame always travels before the second frame, obviously. So as you can see here, this C has no data. So as you can see, C and D slots are kept empty. If you look in the second instance, where the second instance is this second frame, A has no data. So here A has no data. C has no data here. So C has no data, and D, E are there. So D, E are there. So like this, if you look here, this slot, and this one, and this one, these 4 slots are wasted in synchronous TDM. Okay, where to avoid this, what we are going to do is, in asynchronous TDM, which is also called as statistical TDM, the frame is going to have less number of slots than the users. Here, as you can see, there are total 5 users, but here each frame only contains 3 slots. Okay, when you have less number of slots, obviously that means you are not going to send all the users data at in a single frame. So you are only able to send 3 users data at one frame. So as you can see here, if you look at the first frame, in the first frame, A data, B data, D data are there. C and E has no data. So what they are going to do is, they are going to send A's data, B's data, D's data, and they're not going to leave any empty slots. Okay, and in the second slot there is no A data, so B data is there, and there is no C data, D data is there, E data is there. So as you can see here, whoever has the data, their data will be only sent. But at the receiving side, when the data is received by the demultiplexer, the demultiplexer has to know whose data is in first slot, or whose data is in second slot, whose data is in third slot, because now the slots are not ordered, they are random, you can say. So whoever has the data, they will use those slots. So what you are going to do is, instead of just sending the data one by one, along with the data you are going to add an address. So this is an address. So address will help this receiving side demultiplexer to identify whose data it is. Okay, so is it clear about this asynchronous TDM? Is it clear or not about this asynchronous TDM? Okay, good. I got 2 or 3 replies. Now let's see more about these things. So in statistical TDM, as I discussed just now, the number of slots in each frame is less than the number of input lines. That I clearly showed in our last slide. There are 5 users, but our frame has only 3 slots. Okay, and the multiplexer checks each input line in round robin fashion normally. That means, as you can look in our previous diagram here, first A, B, if C is there, C will send or D. Okay, then in the next frame, E's data. If E is not there, next A's data. If A is not there, next B's data. Okay, then if C is not there, D data, E data. So this order will be followed: A, B, C, D, E, A, B, C, D. That order will be always followed, normal statistical TDM. So that is called round robin fashion. Okay, so this is the second point. And the third point, it allocates the slot for an input line if the line has data to send. As you can see in our previous case, every frame will be allocated, one slot of every frame will be allocated to every user, whoever has the data. If there is no data, you are not going to allocate them a slot. That is the reason in our last diagram, again, as you can see in this particular slot, we are not allocating A, B, but C is not there because he has no data. So if you will be allocated a slot if and only if there is a slot free and you have some data to send. These two conditions must be met with to use the frame. Okay, so that is the third point. So here, as I said, addressing is very important. In statistical TDM, a slot need to carry data as well as an address of the destination. If there is no address, the receiver will not be knowing to whom the data need to deliver. The receiver means what I meant is demultiplexer. So the demultiplexer doesn't know which slot belongs to whom on the receiving side. So that is the problem. So, and the second thing, slot size. Since a slot carries both data and address in statistical TDM, the ratio of data size to address size must be reasonable. Okay, so that means I will send only 1 bit of the data, but since I have 100 people, I need 4 bits or 5 bits, 6 bits for representing address. Just imagine yourself. Let me draw a small diagram. There are total 100 users. Okay, user 1 to user 100. So to identify these addresses, you need at least 6 bits. Using 6 bits, you can allocate you can uniquely identify 128 users, 2 power 6. Yes or no? 2 power 6, sorry, 2 power 7. So you need 7 bits. Is it right? So you need 7 bits to uniquely identify. So the first user's address will be 6 zeros followed by 1. The second user address will be 5 zeros followed by 1 0. Then 1 1. Like that, you are going to provide address. Now, if you say that my frame carries 4 users information, where the information is only 1 bit and address is 7 bits, is it reasonable? Okay, ఒక బిట్ పంపించడం కోసం 7 బిట్స్ అడ్రస్ అలొకేట్ చేసి, అంటే ఇక్కడ మనం పంపిస్తుంది 4 స్లాట్స్ ఉన్నాయి అనుకుంటామా. 4 స్లాట్స్ కంటైన్స్ 4 బిట్స్ ఇన్ఫర్మేషన్ అండ్ 4 into 7, that is 28 bit address. So this is a wrong way of using statistical TDM. You must choose a reasonable value of number of bits while designing the statistical TDM. Okay, so if you have like 7 bits, let's say, you will send 63 bits of user information and you will allocate 7 more bits for address information. So that is somewhat reasonable. If you can send 100 bits for each user and 7 bits of address of each user, that is also very reasonable, because you are just allocating 7 bits, whereas you are allocating 100 bits for the information. So that is the second point. It must be reasonable between how many number of bits you are sending as information, how many number of bits you are sending as slot size, address. And here, as I said, since you are using asynchronous TDM, there is no need for adding synchronous bits. So synchronous bits means if you look at this diagram, in this diagram, this 0, 1, next 0, next 1, these things are synchronous bits. So that you can use single bit or you can use 2 bits for synchronization purpose. You can use 10 bits for synchronization purpose. That depends on the implementation, how often you will use the sync. So based on that, they will choose which is the, which pattern they want to use for synchronization purpose. So here there is no such sync bits. So here what you have is information address. Here what you have is information empty slot synchronization bits. So that is the major variation between statistical synchronous TDM and statistical TDM. Okay. And bandwidth, since we are wasting very less amount of bandwidth without utilizing, you can say in statistical TDM we are using the bandwidth efficiently. Okay, so the capacity of bandwidth is normally less than the sum of capacity of channels. That means if you look at our last I went too much yeah, here if you look here, every frame carries all the 5 users data. That means if all the 5 users means if each user is having 1 Mbps speed, your link must be having at least 5 Mbps speed. Okay, whereas here depending on how many slots are there, here 3 slots are there, so 3 into 1 Mbps is the maximum bandwidth. So 3 Mbps is the bandwidth of your link, whereas the cumulative data rate of all the users is 5 into 1 Mbps. So this overall bandwidth of your link will be always less than the total bandwidth of all the users. So that is the last point that it is saying. The capacity of the link is normally less than the sum of the capacities of each channel. Okay, so these are about the statistical TDM. So let me show you a few animations so that you will understand the main principle of FDM and TDM. So let me show you the frequency division multiplexing animation. So just clearly, just for representation purpose. So as you can see here, let me tell you what is happening in this particular animation. So as you can see, there are these 3 users. Let me say this is U1, this is U2, this is U3, and this is U1 dash, U2 dash, U3 dash, let's say the corresponding receivers. Now, this is like a road that is shared between these 3 people and these 3 people. So here this road is divided into lanes. So these lanes can be used by these people whenever they want without worrying about others. As you can see here in this particular this statement, the sub channels can transmit data independently or simultaneously. So what is the meaning of that? Yeah, just observe here only this U1 is sending information to U1 dash. Okay, so as you can see at this time only channel 1 is used, channel 2 and channel 3 is not at all used at this particular instant when U1 is sending some information to U1 dash. Okay, so that is falls under this independent transmission. Okay, Let's see further. Now, both U2 and U3 are sending information at the same time to the channels, and the channels are carrying the information simultaneously to the corresponding receivers. So at the time where U1 is U2 is sending to U2 dash, U3 is sending to U3 dash, this channel 1 is not used at that time. So this is like what I said previously in my explanation. Instead of these phones, you can look at them as three radio stations. So this is something like let's say 93.5, 98.3, 102.1. So this is 98.93.5. This is 98.3. This is 102.1. So whenever they want to speak, the radio jockeys will speak. They will not be worrying about whether the other radio jockeys are speaking or not. Okay, so this information will be delivered whoever tuned to this particular channel. If these three people here in this particular example, if these three people tune to the same frequency, they will only hear this person's voice. They won't be hearing this person's voice. That's what this FDM is capable of. Okay, so let me show you. Yeah, this is another small.
Look at this. Three different users are sending their data over the same channel. FDM combines these signals together and sends them simultaneously as they travel separately in their own non-overlapping.
So for this particular explanation, what I did is I wrote some code for you. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So are you people able to see my web browser? Are you people able to see the web browser? Yeah, good. Now, just look. I will be explain this code what I did later. Just give me a minute. Okay, this is not actually there. I removed this. Remove this. Remove this. Yeah. Just look here. 1 minute. Yeah. Here, what it did is, as you can see, this is M1, this is M2, this is M3. So M1, M2, M3 means these are messages. Messages means they can be analog information or digital information which is converted to analog. Let's say this is whatever is spoken by the radio jockey in 93.5 station. This is 98.3 station. This is 102.1 station. Okay. So let's say they are generating information at 2 hedges. This is 3 hedges. This is 4 hedges. Whereas these are the carrier signals. Okay. So these are the carrier signals which is actually representing 93.5, 98.3, 102.1. But if I draw them at that frequency, you won't be seeing this much clearly. So what I did is I chose 12, 10, 12, 14. Okay. So this is 10 hedges, this is 12 hedges, this is 14 hedges. So this particular message signal is modulated with the help of this frequency carrier signal, where the output is something like this. Okay, in the same way, M2 is modulated with this C2, that is carrier signal 12 hertz, and the output is like this. And this is M3, which is modulated with C3, where you got this S3, let's say. So this is the transmitted signal S1, this is the transmitted signal S2, this is the transmitted signal S3. So మీకు ఇక్కడ S1 S2 S3 లో M1 M2 M3 ఎవరికైనా కనిపిస్తున్నాయమ్మా? Let me repeat the point what I asked. Here in this S1, can anyone see this M1? Can anyone see M1 in this S1? Just give me yes or no. No. I got one no. What about the others? No, sir. Okay, let me show you. If you wait. Okay, I understood. Stop. So if you just consider only peaks of these signal, here if you get the peaks, I won't draw the bottom peak. I hope you will understand. I may not draw them clearly. Now can you see the M1 in this and M2 in this and M3 in the third one? M1 here, M2 here, M3 here, by combining those peaks. That means the same frequency information, is it there or not? As you can see here, we have 4 peaks. Okay, here 4 peaks, 4 lower signals. In the same way here, 1 2 3 4 5 6 peaks, 1 2 3 4 5 6 peaks. Here 8 peaks, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. So these signals, actually this is what is meant by amplitude shift keying or amplitude modulation. These amplitudes gives you, the amplitude means the difference between the center line and the corresponding point, right? So if you draw a center line here, the difference between this point and this point gives the amplitude at that particular position. So these amplitudes, the peaks actually giving you the actual signal, the message signal. But here you may not look that actual signal. For our normal human eyes, we may not be able to identify it directly, but the systems will work, will see them clearly and will separate them. Okay, so if you combine these 3 signals, the modulated signal, that means nothing but if you simply send them through the air, what happens is you will get this signal, whatever you are looking at the bottom. This one. So E bottom signal is actually S1 plus S2 plus S3. Can you able to see anything from there? M1, M2, M3. Here it is difficult to identify M1 or M2 or M3. It can be only easily identified by using filters. By using filters, you can separate whatever frequency you want. So here, the frequency of this signal, is different, this one is different, and this one is different. So if you have a filter which is capable of dividing the frequencies, that is nothing but a band pass filter, you can recreate one of these S1, S2, S3 from this combined signal and you can extract by demodulating the signal. So that is what is meant by modulation, demodulation, and multiplexing, demultiplexing with respect to frequency. Okay. So is it clear now about what is happening in FDM? I repeat, is it clear with FDM? Okay, good. So now look at this animation of this synchronous TDM. Okay, so here as you can see here, before starting the animation, as you can see here, A has data at the first slot, B, A, B, C all have data at the second slot. Now B has no data, C has data. Now look how this data is going. So the one slot is left empty. Okay, so that is how a synchronous TDM will work. Okay, so this is not the only slide. I have a few more animations. So yeah, look at here. I said that there will be one something like a virtual arm rotating in different angles, different directions. So just look here. This is actually how you are constructing a frame. Okay, as you can see here, A's data is there, B is there, C and D has no data, so you can see empty. So A's data is there, A data is not there, and B, C is there, D is empty. So this is how the frames are transmitted on the multiplexing side.
One example. Suppose there are three different users to send their data. At the transmission area, the multiplexer divides time into different segments which we call time slots or intervals, and assign them equally.
So here, this frame this train represents a frame actually, and each bogie is one time slot in that frame. Okay, so as you can see, depending on how many users are there, those many bogies must be there to carry that information. Okay, if your user has no data, the bogie will be left empty.
They can be sent simultaneously. At the receiving end, the demultiplexer separates them.
Okay, so this is synchronous TDM.
Suppose there are three different devices.
So look at how asynchronous TDM works.
Example, but this time the user B has more data to send or has higher priority than both user A and user C. The multiplexer decides to give user B most time slots and the least time slots to user A. Compared with the time division multiplexing, we can say statistical multiplexing is more efficient and more in control.
So as you can see here, so this is actually not just round robin fashion. In this particular animation, what they did is the slots will be allocated based on priority. Okay, as you can see on the roads, when there is some MLAs or MPs or people coming on to the road, see, if he is a central minister, roads will be, more reserved for those people. If they are something like a state level minister, then the rules and regulations will be a little bit different. If they are normal MLAs, so there is no restrictions, but the convoy will be going with high speed with some sirens like that. If a normal people are going, they will be given least preference. So that is how the priority is allocated here. So here in this particular example, B has priority. So when the data is transmitted, B's data will be first sent, then C's data will be completed, then A's data will be completed, depending on when they have data and how much data they have, like that. Or if it is following round robin fashion, what happens is in the first step, A, B, C will be going. Then in the second step, A, B, C will be going. Then in the third step, B, C, B will be going. In the fourth step, only B will be going. So this is if they are following round robin fashion. Okay, so that is so here when to use TDM and when to use FDM means, if you recollect in our previous classes, in one of my previous classes, I told you there is two types of transmission: baseband transmission and passband transmission, where this passband transmission is also called as broadband transmission. So here in baseband transmission, the signal will be transmitted at the same frequency where the signal is generated, which is normally observed in computer communication, digital communication. In passband transmission, you will be seeing in analog communication, where you will be converting your data into high frequency signals and you are transmitting them. So here in analog communications, you will be using this FDM. In digital communication, you will be using this TDM. So in digital communication means normally baseband, in analog communication means broadband. Okay, so that is about TDM versus FDM. So is it clear with these theoretical concepts? Guys, is it clear with the theoretical concepts? So if anyone wants any topic to be repeated, you just mention that now itself. Otherwise, I will move to the problems. The problems are somewhat important. So FDM problems are easy to handle. Okay, so I will explain this problem and I want answers from you people for this second problem. Okay, I already showed an example for this problem. So just see. First, in a question, you need to extract the information, what information is given. So assume that there is a voice channel occupies a bandwidth of 4 kilohertz. Okay, so one voice channel bandwidth is 4 kilohertz. Okay, and we need to multiplex 10 voice channels. So the number of voice channels is 10. Okay, so if you are using FDM, your communication medium must be divided into 10 channels. Okay, that means your big road must be divided into 10 lanes, where each lane will be allocated for one voice channel. Okay, so total 10 channel, 10 lanes with each lane of width 4 kilohertz means, so 10 lanes width ఎంత ఉంటుందమ్మా? ఒక్కొక్క లేన్ కి 4 కిలోహెర్ట్జ్, 10 లేన్స్ ఉన్నాయి. 10 లేన్స్ ఉంటే మొత్తం విడ్త్ ఎంత? I got only one answer. 2. It's very simple question, right? So 40 kilohertz. But let's say on a road, if the road width is exactly same as the vehicle width, can the vehicles move freely? There are 4-lane road. Okay, the 4 lanes width is exactly same as the vehicles moving in that lane. Can they move freely? Obviously not. The one vehicle will when they move closer to the second vehicle, you will be seeing some scratches and you will be seeing some difficulty to move. So obviously we need some gap between them. So what we are going to do is, when we divide them into lanes, between each and every lane we are going to provide some gap. So as you can see here, this is the 4-lane road: lane 1, lane 2, lane 3, lane 4, and in between each lane we are allocating some gap. Okay, so that gap they are saying 500 hedges. So here, if you have 4 lane, how many gaps you need? I'm talking about this example first. 3. Okay, so when you number of lanes are n, number of gaps will be n minus 1. In the same way, if the number of channels are 10, the number of God bands will be 10 minus 1. Okay, so total bandwidth means 10 channels into each channel is 4 kilohertz plus we have 9 God bands where each God band width is 500 hertz. So the answer you can calculate like this. Okay. So is it clear with this problem? Now, I launched a poll. So I want answers from you guys. Are you able to see the poll? Clearly read the question. Only 6 people attempted the question till now. 7. Guys, attempt the quiz. I mean, the poll as quick as possible. Only 44 people attempted till now. The parameter given in the question is each signal need a bandwidth of 4000 hertz and number of signals are 10. Only 52 people answered and God band is 400 hertz. So what is minimum bandwidth needed by the link? I will just see for one more minute. There is no quiz today. These are the quiz itself. I am going to give one more poll later. I will consider these things as the quiz. Till now 70 students attempted it. 73 students. What about the remaining? Okay, I am ending the poll. When the time reaches 5 minutes, I'm going to end the poll. I don't want to spend more time on it. This is one of the easiest questions that you can get from this particular unit as a part of long answer questions. 77 people answered the question till now. So majority of the people gave the right answer, but I don't know why the remaining people went toward the first option. The second highest polled option is the first option, party hedges. Okay, so as you can see here, the road is having 10 lanes. Okay, like that, around 10 lanes. So if you fit a vehicle of, let's say, 40 meters in this road, the road dimension is 40 meters, your vehicle width is 40 meters. So if you put such 40 meters vehicle tightly into the lane, what happens is, let's say the side mirrors will be gone off each and every vehicle, and there will be so many scratches on them. Okay, that's because there is a chance of getting collide with one another because there is no gap. So what we did is we added 400 hedges. That means if 4000 hedges will be allocated for one signal, then a gap of 400 will be allocated, then 4000, then a gap of 400, then 4400. So like this you allocate till you finish all. So here, as you can see, we'll be getting 9 such God bands. So 9 into 400 plus the signals will be 10. Okay, so 10 into 4000. So the total will be 4000 plus 360. Sorry, 3600. Okay, I gave. Okay, correct, right. 40,000 plus 3,600. That means 43.6 kilohertz. The answer is. Okay, so some of you people only gave this answer, 10 into 4000. Then what is the need of actually having God bands? So they clearly mentioned that we have a God band between each and every signal. Okay, so I hope the problem is clear now. So this is the second problem which we just did. So the answer for this particular question is 43.6 kilohertz. Okay, so this is another question. So there are, just note this question. So let me do one thing. So there are 4 channels with 1 Mbps data rate. Okay, and the question is, you have a link of 1 megahertz and you need to use FDM to share this 1 megahertz among 4 channels. Okay, they ask you to find out what is the L value. That means what is the signal levels, how many signal levels you can go with to accommodate this particular option. So as you can see here, total link is 1 megahertz. That means the road width is, let's say, 100 meters. There is no such road, 100 meters. And you are going to divide the road into 4 channels, where each channel is 1 Mbps. That means 10, say, let's say 10 meters. So, not 10 meters, 25 meters you will get, right? That means in this particular example, since you have 4 channels and they are occupying this 1 megahertz frequency, one channel will occupy 1 by 4 megahertz. That means 0.25 megahertz. Okay, so from the Nyquist criteria, so the Nyquist criteria says that, so this one channel is 1 Mbps. So data rate is equal to B into log L base 2. Is it right or wrong? Nyquist criteria equation adenamma kada? I can only see one person responding. So it's 2B. Now, as you can see, this with respect to one channel. Okay. So one channel data rate is 1 Mbps and one channel bandwidth that you can maximum get from your shared link is 0.25 megahertz. So only parameter that you don't know is L value. Okay, if you substitute these values and if you perform the operations correctly, that means 1 into 10 power 6 is equal to 0.5 into 10 power 6 into log L base 2. So that means log L base 2 is equal to 1 by 0.5, that is equal to 2. So L equal to 2 square, that is equal to 4. Okay, L equal to 4 means number of bits that you are representing in each level is 2 bits. Okay, so this is how you are going to do such problems. Okay, so these are the 2 basic types of problems that you may get from FDM. Okay, let's see the problem from TDM. So this is the problem that I already explained in the last class, but I think you have a little bit less clarity on this problem. So let me explain this again. Okay. So as you can see here, these are the 4 channels that are multiplexed with the help of synchronous TDM. Okay, when you use synchronous TDM, the approach is simple. Your frame will be having 4 slots because you have 4 users. Okay, 4 slots because 4 users. But what is in your hand is how many bits you plan to send in each slot. This is very important, Amma. So if you know this answer, then you can easily solve the question. So as you can see from this particular problem, the number of slots is equal to 4. The number of bits in each slot is equal to 1. Remember, the frame rate is always equal to the data rate of individual user by number of bits in each slot. Okay, so the data rate of each user is 1 Mbps. Number of bits in each slot is 1. Okay, so the frame rate is equal to 1 million frames per second. Okay, so the last question we solved, that is 1 million frames per second. Now the easy questions, let's see the input bit duration. So input bit duration means how much time, how much slot, the time slot it is occupied by each bit. Since it is a direct question, 1 Mbps is the data rate, each frame, each bit occupies 1 by data rate, that is 1 by 1 MB, 1 by 1 million, that is 10 power minus 6 seconds. So the input data rate is 1 microsecond. Okay, this is, since it is a direct question, I don't want to show you here. Second question you need to find out. So the output bit duration. So the output bit duration you can find out easily if you know what is the output bit rate. Okay, so output bit rate means in synchronous TDM, the output bit rate is always equal to sum of individual bit rates of all users. So here we have 4 users. So the output bit rate obviously 4 Mbps. Okay, and so if you know this will be just 1 by 4 Mbps. So that is equal to 0.25 microseconds. Okay, is it clear with this particular question, how to solve these questions? Is there any confusion here? I got only 2 people response. What about the remaining guys? I will explain one more example, then I will give you one more poll. So look at this question. We need a synchronous TDM that combines 20 digital sources. So number of users is equal to 20 and data rate of user is equal to 100 kbps. Just give me a minute. Yeah. Okay, so each output slot carries 1 bit. Okay, that means if you look inside the frame will be having obviously 10 slots. Okay, the frame has 10 slots, sorry, not 10 slots, actually 20 slots. The frame will be having 20 slots where each slot is having only 1 bit. Okay, now along with these 20 slots, you have one more bit used for synchronization purpose. Okay, you have one more bit used for synchronization purpose. That means total bits will be 21 bits in each frame. This is a tricky question. Okay, 21 bits in each frame. Now let's go to the question. What is the size of an output frames in terms of bits that we just solved? The answer is 21. What is the output frame rate? So I clearly said. So can anyone tell me what is the output frame rate? So output frame rate is equal to input data rate by number of bits in each slot. So obviously 10k by 1 is equal to, sorry, 100k by 1, that is 100 kilo frames per second. 7, yeah. So this is 100 kilo frames per second. What is the duration of an output frame? So output frame duration means if you know how many frames are sent for 1 second, you can clearly say how many frames, I mean, what is the width of each frame with respect to time. So the width of frame is equal to 1 by 100k. Okay, that means 10 power minus 5. That's, I can say, 10 microseconds. Okay, and what is the output data rate? So can anyone tell me what is the output data rate? Previously I said output data rate is equal to sum of all input data rates. So the answer is normally 20 into 100 kbps, but remember we have one more frame extra, one more bit extra in each frame. So you will be sending 100 more bits. So it is actually 21 into 100, not 20 into 100. 21 into 100. Okay. So the output data rate is 2.1, sorry, 21 into 100, 2.1 million bits per second. Okay, and the last thing, what is the efficiency of system? So as you can see here, every frame contains 20 information bits and one additional frame bit which is used for synchronization. So the ratio is 20:1. So the ratio of useful bits is 20 is to total bits 21. Let's say 20:21. So is this question clear? Yeah. Now I will give you 5 minutes for this question. The question is given on the top. So one person asked me 5i8. So output data rate means how many bits are transmitted per second. Output frame rate means how many frames are transmitted per second. So one frame can carry 10 bits, 100 bits, 200 bits, 300 bits. As you can see in the new question, it is different. Guys, take time. I can give you 10 minutes. Actually, this is somewhat multi-step question, so I give you 10 minutes to answer this question. The same question is also displayed on the slides also, but read the question carefully for multiple times. My data rate means 5i8 Sriya. Data rate means always it is speed at which, at how much speed you are moving. Okay, so here we are considering two things: how much time it is taken by each frame to go, or how many sorry, not time, how many people are moving from one location to another location. You can say the rate of moving those people. So in the same way, how many frames are moved from sender to receiver is the frame rate. How many bits are moved from sender to receiver, that is bit rate. So normally bit rate will be greater than or equal to frame rate depending on how many bits are there in the frame. If one bit is there in each frame, that means bitrate is equal to frame rate. 10 bits are there in each frame means bitrate is equal to 10 times the frame rate. If there are 20 bits, 20 times the frame rate. So that is the relation between frame rate and data. But don't consider one extra bit in this question. I removed it. Fuck that. There is no frame bits, only information to make the question easy for you people. Okay, I'm going to end the poll. 85 people, 84 people responded till now. So let's see what are the right answers. Okay. So these are how you people are attempted the questions, which are the, I mean, how many people gave more up. I mean, how many people opted each and every option. Okay. Anyhow, I'm going to explain now. So just see. So that's frame size. Since there are 20 digital sources, your frame must have 20 slots where each slot have 2 bits. Like our previous question, there is no frame bit. So the answer is 20 bits. Sorry, 20 into 2, that is 40 bits. Okay, so that is the first thing. The size of the output frame in bits is 40 bits. Okay, let me go to frame rate. Okay, so each source is sending 100 kbps speed. So I said frame rate is equal to individual data rate by number of bits in each slot. So 100 kbps by 2 bits in each slot. 100k by 2 is equal to 50 kilo frames per second. Okay, so that is the first one answer, frame rate, that is 50 kilo frames per second. So what is the duration of an output frame? The duration of output frame, from this you can get 1 by 50k is the duration of output frame. And the fourth one, what is the output data rate? So output data rate is equal to input data rate into number of digital sources. So 2 into 100 kbps, that is equal to 2 mbps is the output data rate. It's a very easy question actually. You people just get confused at some points where you got some of people gave wrong answers. Okay, so that is this question. Very let me complete the concept. So these are a few more questions which I already discussed in our last classes. This is an important question, guys. This question is about statistical TDM. Okay. So we have 14 sources, each creating 500 8-bit characters. That means 500 bytes per second. Okay, since only some of the sources are active at a moment, we use statistical TDM to combine the sources using character interleaving. That is not, this term is not important for now, you can leave it. Each frame carries 6 slots. So each frame having 6 slots. Okay, at a time, but we need add 4 bits address to each slot. So prati slot lonu manaki compulsory 4-bit address untundi. So what is the size of an output frame? So each frame carries 6 slots. Output frame of the mission. Each frame carries 6 slots at a time. I think something is missing in this question. Guys, don't worry about this question. I will explain these questions later. I think I have missed some point in this question. Okay, so I will share this PPT along with the solutions. It is already 3:15. So I'm going to share this PPT along with the solutions. There are few more problems which are important for us. So I'm going to share all the solutions. And in the next class, we are going to start the next concept, that is switching. Okay. So if you have no doubts, you can leave the session. Otherwise, I will close it.